Well, hi guys, it's One Love Ted, and it's time for Ted's afternoon stories. I'm reading from the Pushcart War by Jean Merrill, and we're on chapter 19, the tax, and the British ultimatum. No tax, no teachers. The tax, as all students of American history know, was the most unpopular tax in the history of New York City. It caused revolution in the city schools and almost brought England into the war. The citizens of New York protested at once that the tax was undemocratic. They said it discriminated unfairly against the users of tacks as opposed to the users of screws, nails, bolts, and pins. Users of screws, nails, bolts, and pins, and that took in nearly every household in the city, objected as strongly to the tax as the tax users. Their argument was that if the mayor and the city council would put up a whopping tax on tacks, there was nothing to keep them from putting a whopping tax on screws, nails, bolts, and pins anytime they chose. The pushcart peddlers had no special interest in tacks, as they relied exclusively on pins for the manufacture of their ammunition. However, they supported the protest against the tax as a matter of principle. Mr. Jerusalem risked arrest by giving away boxes of tax to his customers rather than charge the hated tax. He was picked up by the P-tax squad, but the police commissioner refused to jail him on the grounds that the council ruling put a tax only on tacks that were sold. The police commissioner said that if Mr. Jerusalem wanted to go broke giving away tacks, that was his own business. Teachers were among the hardest hit by tax, and they went on strike in protest. Hush now, I'm reading, please. You could not have a bulletin board without tax, they claimed, and you could not run a New York City classroom without a bulletin board, they said, or things got hopelessly out of hand. 12,000 teachers carrying "No tax, no teachers" signs picketed Mayor Cudd's office, and while they were picketing, the city schools had to be closed. With the schools closed, children of school age were on the streets from morning to night, and the shooting of trucks increased accordingly, as many of the children had been making their P-tax with pins all along. They couldn't see that it made any difference. The tax did not bother them seriously. The strongest objection to the tax naturally came from England, who was at the time the world's largest producer of tacks. Most of the tax used in New York City came from England. England charged that the New York City tax was designed to cut England out of the American tax market and was in fact a violation of Section 238 of the British American International Tax Agreement. The British ambassador protested in the strongest of terms to the president in Washington and suggested that his country might have to intervene directly in the fighting in New York if the tax was not at once repealed. The president acted promptly. He called Mayor Cudd to the White House and warned him that unless the tax law was repealed within 24 hours, he would have to send federal troops to keep order in the city. Mayor Cudd had to ask the city council to repeal the tax he had asked them to pass the week before. The lifting of the tax was celebrated by the wildest spree of tax buying in the history of the city. Over 800,000 pounds of tacks were sold on the first day of the repeal. The mayor, in alarm, hastily improvised the pea blockade in hopes of averting a mass outbreak of pea shooting. And that's our afternoon story. That was chapter 19. Tomorrow, chapter 20, the pea blockade. See you tomorrow or later tonight for my bedtime story.